let's take a look at the top 5 highest graded Mountaineer players on offense according to PFF in this game against TCU. It's just me, Jordan here, popping into this video to remind you guys, if you haven't already, do us a favor, hit that like button, give us the thumbs up. That'll help this video's performance and help future videos performances here on the channel. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer football content out to Mountaineer Nation. Additionally, we just wanted to say to everyone in the Country Roads webcast community and to all of you throughout Mountaineer Nation, happy Halloween. Let's go, Mountaineers. Starting right here at number 5, we have wide receiver Cortez Braham with a 67.5 grade to come out as the 5th highest graded Mountaineer on offense in the loss to TCU. And, as I said in the snap count series, he's a guy that I'd like to see get more action there for sure. It's him and Jeremiah Aaron, I think both, coming from the junior college ranks were guys that we thought would play bigger roles than they are, I think, or at least in my opinion, I thought that they would. West Virginia's really relying on that top 3 heavily, and I think rightfully so. They're obviously your probably 3 most talented players and definitely your 3 most experienced players, but it's been a mixed bag at times, but particularly with the 2 that have been here, for 4 years now, BFW and Sam James. I think spelling them could only help them. Both of them have experienced issues with drops in the past. Caden Prather's been a bit more consistent since he's came on, rather than just, seeing him in spots, I think. But that being said, I do think Sam James really stood out in this game against TCU. I wanted to give him a shout out. He's been my favorite player since, his freshman season, and I thought he was really playing with great effort against TCU. But I digress on that. Talking about the wide receivers, I do like what I've seen from Cortez Braham, the JUCO product there on the outside. Last week we saw Jeremiah Aaron up here in these player grades, and this week we see Cortez Braham. So I think both those guys have a lot of potential, and I wouldn't mind seeing either of them get more action. I know Braham had a couple of spots he was targeted. One of him and JT Downs had some miscommunication or could have been a potential big play. But I think that he's a guy that can make some plays for the Mountaineers. And you see that here as evidenced by his 67.5 grade to come out as the 5th highest graded Mountaineer on offense against TCU. Moving right along here, offensive line, number 4, Thomas Remack, 68.7 grade. And this is big to see him pop up as one of the top 5 highest graded Mountaineers in this game, simply due to the fact this was his first career start. He's a redshirt freshman, thrust into action due to injury. James Gamitter, second straight week he can't go. And this week, Thomas Remack, last week he had to see some action. This week he had to start because your right guard's out as well. So Jordan White, who you had fill in a left guard, had to fill in a right guard. So insert Thomas Remack, and he performs admirably. And I would say, even to above average, really, especially being a redshirt freshman, probably not expecting to get any starts in 2022. But, here late in the season, West Virginia's been hit with the injury bug, and he has to, and he holds his own. 68.7 grade and popping up in, your top 5 highest graded players of the week as your 4th highest grade. Nothing to, slouch about. So, really excited for that and excited for his future. We'll probably see more of him in these Final 4 games. We'll see moving forward. I'm sure he'll get some action. May not have to have any more starts from him. Hopefully not. But I think he's a guy that can definitely help you in the future as you're trying to, build this Mountaineer program. He's a guy that can help there in the trenches, along with, of course, another youngster that's been standing out all season here on the offensive line, and that's the third highest grade of Mountaineer in this one, left tackle Wyatt Milam with a 69.1 offensive grade. And I like seeing him here as well because he's a guy that was injured coming into the game and they had questionable. They thought he could play. He guts it out, plays. Not only does he play, but plays well. He ends up with the third highest grade from the Mountaineers on the Mountaineers offense in this one. And like I said, he's another young guy, sophomore. So West Virginia has some young guys that are really talented in the trenches, not only on offense, on defense as well. But this offensive line, talking about it specifically, I think there's some young guys that if you can keep them, together, keep these, for the next couple of years, offensive line should remain a strength. I think it's definitely been a strength for West Virginia this season in 2022, and hopefully it can remain that moving forward. You just got to worry about being able to keep people. Nowadays, how the college football game is. But if West Virginia can, they definitely got some good young talent. And Wyatt Milam is one of the most talented there, and he comes out with the third highest grade with a 69.1. And then the second highest grade of Mountaineer, someone we were all glad to see back. And, we saw him get arguably his most extensive workload we've seen him carry yet as a Mountaineer, and that is the true freshman running back C.J. Donaldson, coming out with a 71.3 grade for the Mountaineers in this game against TCU. Loved his performance. Um, Started off hot and, continued that pretty much all game. He ends up with over 100 yards. I think in the first half, he had over 80 on like 9 carries. And it just does, what we've seen him do all season. And I think he's proven what we thought earlier, that he would be a really special player. And I think that he will be throughout his Mountaineer career. Like I said, what I said previously about the offensive line still holds up here as it does for any young, talented player you have in your program. In today's game, you just got to hope that you can keep him around. But excellent performance from him. Of course, the bad side of it, he did go down late in the game. And Neil Brown, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, didn't look good was, kind of his quote in the post game. So a little bit worried about his status for the final 4 games of the season. But if it's in doubt, don't rush him back. You want him to be healthy for the future. He's a big part of the future of the program now, I do believe. As well, he should be with, the way he's performed this season. So, if it's any in doubt, let him rest these final 4 games, get him back strong and at full health next season. And especially, I think it would be good for him because he can go through that full offseason with Mike Joseph and the strength and conditioning program and get more in game shape, because a lot of the issue with him has been, they don't think he's in shape to carry the workload. And here lately, he's had to more so. And you've seen the past 2 games where he's had to carry more of that workload, and he's maybe not, in the exact shape he needs to be a three down back yet and carry that workload. He suffered injuries, and this one's a lower leg injury. We'll see what pans out with it, but that's kind of the negative aspect. But there's really no negative aspect to what we've seen from him on the field, minus I think he had a fumble last week, of course. But other than that, every time we've seen C.J. Donaldson, he's putting forth great effort. He's breaking tackles. He's finding the hole, and he just has a natural knack for that position at running back. It's so crazy that, he wasn't recruited as a running back. He never played running back at all before this season at any level of football. And, he's arguably the Mountaineers' most talented running back and a big piece of the Mountaineers' future. And he showed why in this game, going for over 100 yards against TCU before he was injured. Didn't play the full game, still gets 100 yards rushing, and still comes out as the second highest graded Mountaineer on offense with a 71.3 grade. And then the highest graded Mountaineer on offense in this one may surprise you, somebody that doesn't pop up on this list too often, or hasn't this season thus far anyway, and that's wide receiver Reese Smith, coming out with a 77.7 offensive grade for the Mountaineers in this game against TCU. And I thought, he really did some good things. He's been a little bit more inconsistent than, the other starting Mountaineers wide receivers, if you're talking about the starting 4 there. I think he's been the 4th most consistent as far as if you're grading that, in my opinion. But having said that, this game, he really showed some things. I think one of his plays got called back that I'm thinking of, but he really showed some impressive speed and moves after the catch. It was a RPO out route, faked the outside zone, hit him on it. He got the speed to get around one guy and beat him, juked another guy, broke a tackle, ended up stepping out on the sideline and got called back for an eligible man downfield. But that's the one play that kind of stood out for him in this one, of course. And then the one that stands out to everyone, I'm sure, the touchdown. And that was a really impressive, a gutsy effort. It was kind of similar to the route he ran on that play against Pitt, the final play of the game where he couldn't quite get the ball before it hit the ground right there on the goal line that would have gave the Mountaineers a chance in that one. Very similar there. JT Daniels squeezes the ball in between, two defenders. Has to be a laser beam throw. Gets in there. Reese Smith catches it knowing he's going to get, absolutely hit like super hard by this safety, and he did. They reviewed it for targeting. It wasn't there, but Reese Smith was down on the ground. I was worried about a concussion, but he ended up, coming back. So guess he went to the tent and was okay. But super hard hit. He somehow hangs on to the football for the touchdown. And I think that's one of the reasons he pops up here as the highest graded Mountaineer on offense this week against TCU with the 77.7 offensive grade. So gutsy touchdown and a gutsy performance from Reese Smith to come out as the highest graded Mountaineer on offense against TCU. Having said that, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz. And until next time, let's go Mountaineers.